So while it's been a little while since we've heard anything from Facepunch and Gary about Sandbox, and while there has been some tidbits floating around about what they've been working on, things might get interesting pretty soon. To summarize and catch you up to speed with the latest, the most significant update to Sandbox, which was finally completed by Alex, was the new standalone game wizard for the game. This does push having standalone games one step closer to becoming a reality as a feature for creators on Sandbox. But there's a significantly steep wall to climb, as this was made in preparation to show off to Valve and talk with their people as to see if this feature is rather safe enough that the lawyers wouldn't have to worry about issues down the line, since Facepunch doesn't have a license to redistribute the Source 2 engine, and while Valve themselves have been on board with the idea and supportive of it, the wall will get only higher once Valve's lawyers also have to get involved. But while this is strictly a waiting game to see what updates that we might be getting moving forward, it's actually Hack Week at Facepunch, which is incredibly exciting. Reason being is because instead of Facepunch doing their normal work, they have everyone branch out and create new games, features, and tools that may be added to Sandbox and generally have everyone step out of their comfort zone at the same time. A good example of this is a new set of features. While some were added, hopefully some others will be added in the near future, like Timeline made by Laylad, which integrates the SFM style tools into the Sandbox editor. This new addition would streamline any form of animations with keyframes that allow you to animate basically any game object, including the properties for that game object, position, color, size, and more. This is an incredibly significant feature since many folks enjoy making media and source maker content and also want to create awesome cinematics. We'll take it one step further and mention that with Timeline, you'll also be able to create amazing in-game cutscenes to integrate with your games. This levels up the potential that you can go and do within Sandbox, utilizing the tools that are provided with the Sandbox editor. So with this hack week currently going on, what would this mean? There has been some little sneak peeks that we can slightly see through the commit logs on the official Sandbox Discord. The first one being a game called Gun Builder, which is a VR-styled gun building game. As it's self-explanatory, it's a game where you can go and build guns, including adding or removing attachments and testing them out for the sake of having fun with them. So far, the MP5 model that was added a couple of months back is now seen in action, and from some of these videos that are shown on screen, it looked incredibly cool. We also get a shooting range scene for the Gun Builder game, which at the same time shows a modified version of Frank, one of the Uncanny Valley human player models, shown wearing a jacket with jeans and basically a bald head. Modified versions of the human player models have been toyed with here and there, as I have made a video talking about this last year, about them getting some more new interesting updates with clothing. And from Max's own words, as he left a comment on that video mentioning, while it's not absolute a promise or guarantee, the clothing meshes work pretty well with the shared rig that Terry and the human model have. Stretching the limbs and scaling the citizen is what prevents the breaking of clothes on the human models. But unless something is really particular, there's no need for a second version of the material to be made. This would be incredible to see any sort of new update, since I know a ton of folks do want to use these models and customize them for their games, but this is all we've gotten so far. In a smaller but cooler update, looks like we've gotten a preview thanks to Backscratch, shout out to Baki Boo, for showing off these really rad and cool 2D sprites. 2D games have definitely been something that I've seen and played on Sandbox, but seeing more of these newer sprite features makes for more awesome creator potential in making 2D platformer or 2D games in general on Sandbox. Also, finally, we're starting to see more work being done with the new update to the UI. And for this specific commit, this would be UI redesign 2. The user interface has definitely been a roller coaster for many folks who've had access to developer preview for Sandbox for the last 2 or 3 years now. And while it has changed over the last year or so, the UI's gotten super messy in some cases and better in others. But it seems like we might be getting a rehaul of the user interface, and hopefully we'll get a peek of this most likely at the upcoming Hack Week, fingers crossed. The next one is a bit crazy, and I'm gonna actually do my absolute best to talk about this and use layman terms as best as I can. There's a commit called Hack Week OpenXR by Alex. Now, if you have no idea what any of this actually means, OpenXR is a open and royalty-free standard that allows to speed up the process for developing virtual reality applications for a wide range of augmented and virtual reality devices, reducing the time and cost for developers to develop for multiple different headset platforms. In short, according to the specific image here, utilizing OpenXR will allow it to provide a streamlined experience for development for Sandbox using other VR headsets. Now, this is something that's incredibly interesting to me, as Sandbox does support VR natively, because the game, since it was switched over to the Source 2 engine, is using a modified version of the Half-Life Alyx version of the Source 2 engine, which was made specifically for VR. And on top of that, with native support of VR on Sandbox, adds another slew of games for players to experience using a different platform, specifically virtual reality. Another cool part about this is previously, before, there was some games that you could play with VR that supported both VR and non-VR players in the same game, making games with these features implemented optional depending on how you truly want to play and experience the game. I've also talked about this before and still would love to discuss more about this, but some folks have mentioned how interesting it would be to create a social VR game like VR Chat and more games like this in Sandbox that probably have support for VR and games made within VR that would make the experience much more enjoyable. Now, while OpenVR is something that can possibly make Sandbox become more streamlined with VR use between different headsets, it'll make life easier also for VR game developers who want to utilize different headsets down the line to test their games on Sandbox. And last but not least, while it's not the most insane update, Max has added animations to the Crowbar weapon. Now, to be fair, I haven't seen any animations for this yet, and I've also seen that Max has mentioned that the animations will get properly done, most likely at a later point, as right now they are placeholders because he has other priorities to tend to. But aside from these updates, if you want to see more updates on Sandbox that I probably haven't mentioned, definitely make sure to check out this video here on screen, and thank you for watching.